Today on Face the Nation, Oliver North is running for the U.S. Senate. A major player in the Iran-Contra scandal, North announced his candidacy this week. He wants a seat now held by the Democratic senator from Virginia, Chuck Robb. Is North qualified? How much will the Iran-Contra scandal dog him during the campaign? We'll ask Oliver North, and we'll talk about the rest of the week's events with Thomas Friedman of the New York Times, Ronald Brownstein of the Los Angeles Times, and Michael Elliott of Newsweek.
Face the Nation with Chief Washington Correspondent Bob Schieffer. And now from CBS News in Washington, Bob Schieffer.
And welcome again to the broadcast. Mr. North joins us at our studio here in Washington. Thank you for coming.
Good morning.
You have been on a media blitz. You were on all the morning news shows, on Friday? You were on Larry King on a Wednesday night, I guess it was. I'm told that you did some 20 interviews by satellite to various places around the state and around the nation just on Friday alone. Then you were on Nightline, Ted Koppel show. When was it? Friday night, I guess. And now you're here at Face the Nation.
And yesterday I was all over southwestern Virginia, too. So.
One of the themes that seemed to run through all of these interviews, and it began when Harry Smith interviewed you on CBS this morning, the first thing he said was this, Mr. North, the one thing that we say out front is that you lied to the Congress. Yeah. And you interrupted him.
Well, I did, because it's wrong. When I raised my right hand, Bob, in that congressional hearing that everybody watched on national TV for 6 straight days, every word I said was the truth. And Harry knew it, and you know it, and all your viewers know it.
Well, I must say I was a little shocked, and so just to kind of refresh myself, I went back and looked up the hearing. And of course, what I found was that when you were first called before the committee, you took the Fifth Amendment. You refused to testify until the Congress granted you immunity.
Actually, until just so we get it right for the folks watching today, until they compelled me to testify under the pain of going to jail if I didn't.
And once you took the oath, in essence, what you testified to is that you said, yes, indeed, I did lie to the Congress previously. That's what you said.
What I said was that in an informal off-the-record meeting in August of 1986, a situation nobody should ever have been put in, I was asked questions that I had been told from the President of the United States could never be revealed. Okay? Now, I was the first person in the history of America to ever be charged with lying to the Congress. Interestingly enough,
let me just go back in.
One thought, Bob, because interestingly enough, having admitted it all in the hearings and again in my own trial, the jury said not guilty.
Well, we'll talk about that later, because you were convicted of 3 things, and it was later thrown out by an appeals court because they said that the jury trial had been based too much on the testimony you gave to the Congress, and you had been granted immunity. But let me go back to that. Let me just go back and quote what you said when you were interviewed by the counsel. Mr. North, I will tell you right now, counsel, and you're talking to the Iran-Contra Committee and all the members, that I misled the Congress.
Right.
And the counsel said at that meeting, the one you referred to, you said at that meeting, he said face-to-face, you said face-to-face. Later, you were interviewed by the Republican counsel, Mr. Van Cleve, and he said you've also admitted you altered some of the documents in which you clearly described your role. North, I did. Van Cleve, you intended to mislead Congress. I did. Now, is that right?
No.
Should you have done that?
No, but and no one should.
Are you sorry you did it?
Well, Bob, no one should have ever been put in that situation. I was told to do that by people who were corresponding. I didn't sign those letters. Those letters were signed by the National Security Advisor. And I don't think I should have been put in that situation, nor do I think anybody should ever be put in that situation.
Who made you do it?
Well, the President of the United States, who went to the King of Saudi Arabia and asked for that help from the Nicaraguan resistance, all right, then said to everybody who knew about it, that shall never be revealed. It should never have been a situation where somebody was asked to answer those kinds of questions.
The president asked you to lie to the Congress. Is that what you're saying, Mr. North?
Sat in a situation room meeting and said, no one's going to reveal what's going on in this thing. I think the actual quote written by somebody else was, they'll hang by the thumbs in the
And that gave you the leeway you felt in your own mind to go to the Congress and mislead them.
This was not my mind, Bob. The fact of the matter is that under those circumstances, no one has ever been accused of lying to the Congress before. I was the first one in 218 years in America.
All right, well, let's put that beside the point. Let me just ask you this. You're not under oath now.
No.
So how can I know that you're telling the truth. You said that I told the truth once I took the oath. Is a person allowed not to tell the truth when he's not under oath?
Well, I'm talking about congressional hearings, Bob. What you ought to do is, if the Congress wants to get the straight answers, what they ought to do is bring people up there, have them raise their right hands just like I did, and expect that they will tell the truth. That's what I'm going to expect as a U.S. Senator. I think that's what they ought to do when they want to get straight answers to things. They ought not to have those kinds of informal meetings.
Well, what
Any
about
more
just...
than Leon Panetta is going to be asked, are you really going to cut taxes? And he's going to say, oh, sure, we're going to cut taxes. No one's going to try Leon Panetta from OMB for not cutting taxes.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that when a person's in the Senate, he doesn't always take an oath before he holds a news conference, before he comes on Face the Nation. I'm trying to understand, what is your criteria for when you tell the truth and when you don't tell the truth?
I'm telling you the truth
Only
right now.
under oath or all the time?
You're not a congressional hearing, Bob. I'm here to tell you.
So you can tell me a lie?
No, I'm not telling you a lie at all.
No, I'm not saying you are, but I'm just trying to find out, when is it okay? What's the criteria to know that Oliver North is telling the truth? Only under oath or all the time?
Expect it.
I can expect it from here on in.
Right, sure.
Were you proud of that? I mean, do you feel that you did anything wrong? I mean, I understand what you said. Other people told you to do it and so forth. Did you feel at the time it was the wrong thing to do?
Bob, there's things I did yesterday I should have done differently. There's things I will do tomorrow that I ought not to do or do differently, because I happen to be a frail, flawed mortal who makes mistakes every day. And unlike most people in this city, and you've been here 25 years, unlike most people in this city, I've admitted my mistakes, I've gotten back up off the ground, and I've gotten on with life. And the fact of the matter is, that's what we ought to expect of other people, too.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I would not press you so long on this. But one of the reasons that I have started the interview in this way is that as I went back and went back over the notes and read about Iran-Contra, what I find over and over again, that there's a pattern that many of the people you have worked for question your veracity. And Ted Koppel Friday night, I've never heard a news broadcast where someone started out by saying, Ollie North is a fine soldier. Ollie North was a hard worker, but he was also an accomplished liar.
Well, Mr. Koppel was entitled to his opinion, and you can say the same thing, Bob, but you will be wrong.
I'm not saying anything. I'm asking you about what other people said. Admiral Crowell, Robert Gates, a former director of the CIA, Marlin Fitzwater, President Bush's former spokesman, Al Haig, Mr. Casey, Bill Casey, the former CIA director's widow, Ross Perot, and even the Reader's Digest have all said that in one way or another, Mr. North either embroideries the truth or he just flat out doesn't tell the truth. Is that wrong?
The fact of the matter is, I gave Mr. Koppel a list of 14 people. He chose to interview one of those 14 people. The other, all 14 of them would have said, North tells the truth every time I've talked to him. The fact of the matter is, you can find anybody who will recollect something one way and another person who will recollect it another way, and just because two people remember an event 10 years ago differently doesn't mean either one of them aren't telling the truth.
All right, well, let's go to one. Here's one, Konstantin Mingus, who was on the National Security Council staff with you. He told a very interesting story in his book of how you relate a rather poignant story that a conversation that you had with Jeane Kirkpatrick. I guess at that time was she the UN ambassador. And he said later on, he asked Ambassador Kirkpatrick if a certain subject had come up at your dinner with her. And she said, I've never had dinner with Oliver North. Is that right? Who's right? Who's wrong? That's not a recollection of two people had different ideas. That's someone that directly contradicts something.
I will show, and if you would like to call Otto Reich, who hosted the dinner, you'll find out the dinner happened. But Bob, there is no point in me sitting here accusing dozens of other people of remembering things differently and then saying they're liars. I'm not going to do that.
All right. What about William Casey's widow? You said that from time to time you met with William Casey at his home. She said you've never been in the house.
Then you go to the record of trial and you can find a sworn witness who's a federal judge who says, I was in that house that day, okay? The fact of the matter is, nothing good is being accomplished, Bob, by rehashing events that different people remember differently. And that doesn't mean that anybody is lying. It just means that they remember the event differently. That's all.
Did you ever tell anyone that you briefed Ronald Reagan twice a day?
I have no idea that I ever told anybody that.
I believe that it's been written several times. Several people have said that. And then the White House says that you only saw him 19 times.
Well, they're wrong.
So how did you get in and out of the...
I believe in the record of the trial, the White House had to produce all of the the records of all of the different meetings that I had with the President of the United States, Bob.
So that is wrong.